are Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry both on the hot seat right now after a 2-4 start to the year. Matthew Peterson from the Browns Report by Chat Sports here, tackling the biggest question right now in Cleveland. I don't think anyone would have maybe guessed that Andrew Berry could be on the hot seat following this offseason. Stefanski, yeah, there were some haters after last year, but both of them right now, this is a new development, I would say, for Browns fans. So let's start by tackling this big question with Andrew Berry, right? Here's where I stand on the good old AB. His biggest flaw so far was skimping out on defensive tackles and mediocre drafting thus far. He's only had 3 drafts, 2020, 2021, and 2022. I'm not going to address 2022. There's only been 6 games. That's way too early. But we have a rough idea of at least how that 2020 draft class turned out and the 2021. So let's start by looking at his drafting right now. Back to 2020, you could make the argument his best pick was his last pick, Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's better than Nick Harris, Harrison Bryant, Jacob Phillips, Jordan Elliott, and Grant Delpit. So it's Jedrick Wills or DPJ. That's not good when your best pick is the guy you got in the 6th round. You have to hit better on picks in rounds 1 and 2. Now, the draft's always going to be a bit of a crapshoot, but still, this is missing too much, in my opinion. 2021, still early. He hit better in rounds 1 and 2 with Newsome and JOK. But Schwartz in round 3, he's MIA. He's a non-factor at this point. James Hudson's a decent swing tackle. Togiai sucks. Fields is a non-contributor. Richard LeCounte was waived not long ago. Demetric Felton sucks too. So, through 2 draft classes that we can start to evaluate so far, he hasn't really hit a ton. Outside of Wills, who's probably not a first-round talent anymore, and DPJ, an awesome find in round 6. He missed on 5 other picks, 4.5, 5.5 if you want to call it in 2020. In 2021, Newsome and JOK have been good. Have they looked like Pro Bowlers? No. I love JOK, but he has not looked like a Pro Bowl linebacker thus far, and Newsome definitely has not either. So then you look at what Andrew Berry inherited. Wait, on the left is what John Dorsey built, and on the right is what Andrew Berry is building. Where are the key pieces on this team? More so on the left than the right. Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Wyatt Teller, Joel Petonio. Those are guys that Andrew Berry inherited, John Dorsey, pre-Dorsey, whatever. But those are not the pieces that Andrew Berry went out and got. And on the right is what Andrew Berry's done so far for notable names. Now, Deshaun Watson can come in here and change everything for this team. But right now, we haven't seen him. Amari Cooper, that's one hell of a trade. No other way around it. Jedrick Wills, it looks like they're going to pick up his 5th-year option and then go a different direction after 5 years and find a new left tackle. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I love him. I think it's one of Andrew Berry's better picks. I'm a big JOK stan. And then Greg Newsome is a good corner. Just that. He's a good corner. Is he a great corner? Is he a first-round corner? Yeah, probably not so far. Still early. A guy who hasn't even played 2 full seasons. But he gets beat a little bit too much for my liking. So here are Andrew Berry's 2 biggest faults in my eyes. 1, he missed on building the secondary. And we'll look at that in just a moment. But 2, he underestimated, and so did I too, the importance of defensive tackles. Because man, does this team miss the 2 Maliks right now. They are getting bullied on the defensive line. They are letting teams who suck at rushing come out and have number 1 rushing yards in defense. And I get it, a lot of that falls on Joe Woods. But if Joe Woods has the 2 worst starting defensive tackles in football, I don't know many other defensive coordinators that would have dramatic improvements for this team. At a certain point, this coaching staff can only work with what they have. And Berry has not built a very good defense in a lot of ways here. Let's start with the secondary. Like him or hate him, Pro Football Focus, here are their ranks for this Browns DB unit. Denzel Ward, who Andrew Berry gave $100+ million to, is ranked 102nd out of 108. Yikes. Newsome, middle of the pack. Johnson, one of the more bigger free agent acquisitions, middle of the pack. Grant Delpit, 2nd-round pick, sucks in pass coverage. Martin Emerson, like what I've seen so far out of him as a rookie. Bravo to Barry. I'm not here to say everything Barry has done is wrong, is bad, but he is missing at a rate I don't like to see. And then on the defensive line here, one, can someone explain to me how Myles Garrett is the first-ranked defensive end in Pro Football Focus's eyes? Don't get me wrong, love 95, don't think he's the number one edge rusher in football this year. Regardless, Taven Bryan, your number one guy, your number one defensive tackle is 93rd. That's a very big problem to have. No Clowney right now, Alex Wright. No one thought he would have this much playing time anyway in his rookie season, so I'm not going to grade too harshly on him, but he hasn't been anything spectacular thus far. So with that being said, before we switch over to Stefanski's side of the equation, who do you think is more to blame? This is the pinned comment on today's show. I'm very curious to see what the results are. I think you're going to get a lot of KS's for Kevin Stefanski, but I think if you do that, just know Stefanski sure is not getting a pardon in my idea, but he's definitely not dealing with the best deck of cards here. All right, before we talk about Kevin Stefanski, I want to introduce a new segment on the show. Kind of thought about this last night, thought it'd be fun to reveal today. So I've got Petey's Doghouse here. 3 people who are either in the backyard, meaning you trust the dog, but only in your own house, right? You're not going to take them out for walks because they might go and bite someone's head off. On the leash, meaning you're not fully trusting, but they're sort of in between. And then deep in the doghouse is, I'm done with them, move on. So here are my doghouse candidates after 6 weeks of football. Backyard only is Greg Newsome. I like Newsome, don't love Newsome right now. I think he's done some good things, but he has not looked like a legitimate CB2 that can start as CB2 or CB1 for a vast majority of teams. On the leash, I'm going to go with Kevin Stefanski. I think Stefanski is probably getting a bit too much of the heat for things that are not his fault, but he's definitely not blameless in the disastrous start to this season. And then in the doghouse is Joe Woods. I don't know what more has to be said here. Woods, granted, I just kind of gave him a pardon with the defensive line sucking, but still, you let quarterbacks like Mariota, Bailey Zappi, and Joe Flacco look like Hall of Fame QBs against your team. You're the defensive coordinator. The buck stops with you. Now, really quickly, we're going to get into some Kevin Stefanski and even benching Grant Delpit talk in just a second. But BetUS, our proud sportsbook partner, has a great deal for all of you guys watching right now. When you go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Browns125, you're going to get a 125% deposit bonus. I'm not going to stand up here and advertise for you to go to bet on the Browns against the Ravens this week. Doesn't feel like a very good idea. So instead, maybe a different direction could be something like Saints-Cardinals, right? Cardinals -1. I think that's a easy money at home. So that's the pick I'm rolling with on Thursday Night Football. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Browns125. All right, Kevin Stefanski. The second half of this dynamic duo in the Browns front office. The offense is not this team's biggest problem. I will stand by that. It is not. There are bigger issues right now. Did Jacoby Brissett suck last week against the Pats? Yes. Is he the biggest issue? No. Right? For me, it's lack of talent on special teams. This team really misses Jakeem Grant and has never recovered from losing him. They have gone through multiple return men at this point here. Most recently, Chester Rogers muffing that punt. But at the end of the day, you're going to see a lot of people out there saying, guys, Stefanski's not the problem. His offense is awesome. Stefanski's a head coach. He's not an offensive coordinator, right? He oversees everything. He is responsible for offense, defense, and special teams. Now, here are things that are out of Stefanski's control. Look at this play right here from week 6. Look at the big yellow circle around Anthony Schwartz. Jacoby Brissett has to make that throw. Now, does Schwartz catch it? That's a different conversation. But that is a missed layup right there. That's going to help Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski out a ton. Brissett has to make that throw. This is not Kevin Stefanski's fault. Just like how this big play from Jonnu Smith to start the second half, missed tackles. 2 Browns players right on top of Jonnu Smith, and he bounces right off of JOK and Grant Delpit. Missed tackles, something the Browns focused on reportedly a ton in practice last week did not materialize in the game. These are things that Kevin Stefanski cannot control, right? He can't control Brissett not throwing to a wide open Anthony Schwartz or Grant Delpit not making a tackle. These are things that a head coach can only do so much. He can't go out there and make the tackle himself. Now, his offense has kicked ass so far, and that's given him a longer leash, in my opinion. Look what he's doing with the backup quarterback. He's got the 7th highest rated points per game offense, 24.7. His offensive efficiency is ranked 6. What are we talking about here? Stefanski's not the problem. It's the defense. It's the special teams. Here's my question. Is Kevin Stefanski an NFL head coach or is he an offensive coordinator? Because there is more to coaching than just 1/3 of the football. You are responsible for defense and special teams. Now, it's okay to be a coach who has shortcomings at those areas. How do you combat it? You build a good staff. He has not done that. Joe Woods ain't it. Mike Prefer, probably getting too much heat right now. He can't control Cade York missing game-winning field goals or Chester Rogers muffing punts in the sun. But still, special teams has been underwhelming thus far. We've yet to get a big impact play from it. And the defense has sucked. So Kevin Stefanski, granted, is not in charge of the defense necessarily because he's an offensive-minded guy. But I kind of call BS on that. You're the head coach. You're responsible for the entire game, all 53 players. So I'm not just going to let him off the hook because his offense does well. Defense and special teams are important too, and it's what's holding this team back right now. Now make sure to subscribe if you want to help turn this season around. If you want to get more fiery takes like this, kind of telling you straight, not beating around the bush, hit that big red button and subscribe. That's how we roll here at the Browns Report. All right, Grant Delpit, let's talk about number 22. He has been a major liability, to put it lightly, in pass coverage. He is really good at stopping the run. The issue is that's not his primary job. He is a safety. He is the last line of defense, and he is bad in pass coverage. He is bad in pass protection. So some people out there are wondering, is it time to make a change? Put in Ronnie Harrison. Put in the UDFA D'Anthony Bell. Do something, because we've seen 6 weeks of Delpit just get cooked in pass coverage. Here are his coverage stats, by the way. He's been targeted 16 times. 16 of those passes have been, 9 of those 16 passes have been caught. 141 yards and 4 touchdowns. Think about that. Target 16 times, 4 touchdowns. What is that? 25% of the passes being thrown to 22's direction result in a touchdown? Those are benching numbers, guys. PFF hasn't been very kind to him either. They rank him 69 out of 87. Overall grade, 54.2. And his pass coverage, 49.1. He's awesome in the run. I love when he comes up to the line of scrimmage and he blows up a running back. The issue is those plays are few and far in between to make up for the liability he is in pass coverage. So now we circle back to this. Is it time to make a change? Is it time to maybe give D'Anthony Bell or Ronnie Harrison a longer look? Because Delpit is sinking this defense right now. He's not the only problem, but I believe he is the biggest problem on this defense here. But I'll let you guys be the coach here to kind of wrap up today's show. The last question I want to ask. Would you bench Grant Delpit? Y for yes or N for no? Let me know what you're thinking down below. I appreciate all of you guys for clicking on to today's show, making us a part of your day. Once again, 2-4 Browns. They got to get it together. I don't know if they will, but this week against the Ravens, this is the ultimate test this year. You lose this game, you are cooked.